here too. I've known that man for over 2 decades, Heather B.
Yes.
I had the distinct pleasure of being a co-worker of his early on in radio.
I remember
it like it was yesterday. We were doing that morning show, Life Radio. We had so many iterations of the name of that show. Went through a lot of shit during that show. And one of my favorite moments of the day is he would come on right after us and always be one of the most pleasant people that I would know. Not being from New York, you know, especially in the music business at that time. You know, I would encounter a lot of what I call pretentiousness. I was aware of it, Tracy. I could sense it in people. We got ingenuity, we got intuition. But from this particular individual, he was always 110 with Rich Nice in me, and I appreciated that. I knew his history, being a personality, being a DJ from Cali. We studied everything that happened in New York. I'm sure folks probably did that with Cali as well. I knew his crew. I knew everything about his mixtapes at the time. I knew a lot about his history, how he came up in the game, and then watching him ascend from that position years ago to who he's become today. I just want to commend that man in his face and say congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, man.
DJ Envy.
Yes, thank you.
DJ Envy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But equally, if not as more,
Tell him.
talented and powerful than he is.
Yes.
For without her, there would be no him, citizens. I know this for a fact. She used to drive him around in that Escalade as he tried to get jobs. And it was her making the money in the beginning, Tracy. It was her supporting his dreams to help him become who he is. And she wrote that I never even foresaw. I never even had any foresight on the success he would have because I was doing it purely out of love and to support my king. And boy, did she support this king. Because to be able to be married to this barbarian right here. This man is a barbarian.
A barbarian.
You gotta be something special. And to raise that amazing family of children that they have. Every time you see a picture, you feel like it's a magazine spread. And I know she's doing the styling.
Yes.
Please welcome her to the show for the first time, the one and only Gia Casey.
Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
Yo, this book, citizens, they have a book, Real Life, Real Love, Life Lessons on Joy, Pain, and the Magic That Holds Us Together. RaaShaun, DJ Envy, and Gia Casey. It's an amazing book. If you listen, I was telling them off mic that I read the book, and I was reading it out of necessity. Tracy and Heather was trying to hook me up on the air today. It didn't go too well.
I wonder whose fault was that.
And I've been in long-term relationships that didn't work, and I've been single since because I realized I don't have the blueprint, right? So reading this book, coming up with relationship mission statements and all the different things that you suggest in your Q&A have been very helpful. But Gia, I got to ask you, there's a story in this book about Envy being possessive and territorial. See, once you put in the book, you can say whatever you want.
That's
Envy
right.
can't say shit. He can't say nothing to me right now. And
Open season.
Heather, one time, this barbarian,
I was.
he was on his way to a gig,
Okay.
right? And he commanded that Gia stay in one night. You are not allowed to go out. And Gia decided, well, okay, I won't go out, whatever. And as he was on the way to his gig, he found out that she went to a place called the Armory.
Yes.
Called the Armory.
Okay.
He found out from a friend of his who was snitching.
Somebody snitched.
Straight snitching.
The man had a paid gig, turned the car around just to show up in the location she was at, picked her up, and threw you over his shoulder.
Yes, like Tarzan.
Why didn't you run from that kind of behavior?
Because I was in the air.
The real question is, why
wasn't
couldn't
quite
you
possible.
go out? Why didn't you want her to go out?
Well, this was a long time ago. This
Okay.
wasn't
Yeah,
yesterday.
this was early.
This wasn't
This is
yesterday.
young.
Really
Envy.
some context.
Yeah, this wasn't yesterday.
Yeah, we were in
Okay.
college.
We were in college.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Gia and I met at 16 and 15, right? She was
Wow.
15, I was 16. We've been together ever since, never broke up. I was, growing up, I was very insecure. Reason being, I had glasses, I had braces, acne, I was 5'4". I always say this, Gia hates when I say it, but my mother would say I wasn't the cat's meow, right?
Got it.
Nobody was hollering at me.
Okay.
Right? So when I got with Gia, to me, she was my everything. She was beautiful. She was smart. She was caring. She gave me butterflies. And I'm like, if she ever goes out, she'll find somebody smarter than me,
Aw.
that
Right.
looks better than me, that is more compelling, more
It
entertaining.
added to your
more
insecurities.
Absolutely. So I was like, if she goes out, that will happen. So my whole thing is like, if she doesn't go out, or if she only goes out with me, I'll never lose her. So that particular night, I had a party. Of course, I went to Hampton, Virginia. She went to Old Dominion. She went out, and I had a party an hour away in Richmond. My man, his name is Little Sean, snitched on her. And he was like, yo, Gia's here. And I said, what? U-turn, and came back and got it. That was my possessive insecurities at the time.
At the time.
Gia, you like Sean to this day now? Y'all cool?
Man, he was at my house yesterday.
Wow. Now how
Was
Gia?
it really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sean is our kid's godfather. I'm his kid's godparents. Where we are, and he's a big friend.
Beautiful.
Okay,
That
that's
is
amazing.
beautiful. Now I'm curious, Gia, have you ever felt the way that Envy just described?
Oh, no. No.
Wow.
Damn. See?
You're like, hell no.
No. For clarification, what I mean when
Uh-huh.
I say that is that I'm not a jealous person.
Okay.
My way of looking at life is if you're in a relationship, and I would look at him like he's a bird. If I put him in a cage and I leave the cage door open, he has the freedom to fly away if he chooses. But if he stays, then you know that he's really yours.
Right.
That's how I feel about people in relationships. Someone, if they want to be there, they will be there. You cannot contain someone that does not want to be there.
Absolutely.
Because if I didn't love him the way that I did, and if he didn't deserve all of the love that he received from me, maybe I would have stayed because I was catering to his feelings or giving in to his possessiveness, but then I would have cheated on the side. Do you see what I mean? Like if
Absolutely.
I felt as though I were a captive, then I would have been like, okay, boo, yeah, sure. And then done something on the side. But I never wanted to step outside of our relationship. He was
Okay.
always everything that I ever wanted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Heather says that all the time to me, right? So let me ask you this. So you've never committed infidelity on Envy?
Do you know that you are the first person through all of the interviews that we've done to ask me that direct question? The first person.
He's a Hall of Famer.
You know, I got. We were inducted the same year.
He's a Hall of Famer.
And the answer is no.
You never did. Never tempted.
No.
Never close.
No.
Huh.
He was my first everything. The furthest that I've gone before him was I let a boy go at my shirt. So second base. But aside from that,
He's a cringe. Look at that.
I'm still looking for that guy. I'm still looking for him.
27 years later, it's still a cringe for him. But that's the furthest that I went. And he broke my virginity. So yeah, he's the only person I've ever been with.
Did you guys ever have a break? Because I know some couples, when they've just been, in the throes of monogamy for so long, I know a young lady that was like, bro, I never had my whole phase. I think we're going to need a break for me to explore before I go down like this lane of eternity with you.
Yes.
Was there ever a break so you could explore, the many fish?
No.
Okay.
And I've never wanted a break. For me, if it's not broke, it doesn't need fixing. And I was always satisfied with everything that our relationship had to offer me, even though there were bumps and crashes along the way.
Yeah. And you know what, too? It also reminds me of when you get married, you're marrying so many different versions of that person. So you do get to date a new person, I would assume, kind of every other decade. Like, what was the difference between Envy at 16 and then Envy now in terms of qualities?
RaaShaun has matured. He has matured significantly. I think that from his perspective now, looking in hindsight, it's really 2020 for him. He can see his whole self and what his whole self used to be and all the flaws that came with that. And since then, he's course corrected. And we course correct every day because none of us are perfect. We're always striving to be self-actualized and to be our best selves in life and love and spirituality and everything. So every day really is a new day. And he's constantly trying to become a better person. And daily we point out things about one another that could use improving.
Don't this remind you of that big interview? I think I don't want to say, was it Barbara Walters who did it with Mike Tyson and Robin Givens?
Oh my God.
And Robin was talking, and Mike was just sitting there.
You know what? I do this for a living, so sometimes I'm so into just how she's speaking and how well she does, and I think to myself all the time, like, she should be on effing TV.
Yeah.
Like, she should be on effing, like, the way she was a communications major. So when I'm watching, I'm like mesmerized. Like, goodness, great. This is my wife. Like, I'm mesmerized.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's interesting you say that.
He's never said that.
Oh, he's never said that?
No.
Mesmerized. Good word. It's a good word.
Y'all want a hug just so for the kiss?
A quick kiss.
Oh. Okay. Well, Envy has two things I want to ask you, because one of the things you said in the book is you were concerned about the possibility of losing your identity during his success. I'm paraphrasing, but through his career. When did that become a concern for you? At what point in a relationship? Because that happens a lot. You hear a lot of women in relationships who identities get swallowed up by the men.
It was the point at which his ego started to grow. And even though he wasn't Envy inside our house, I saw that he was moving with a certain kind of bravado, a certain kind of...
You could see it. I know what year that was.
I could see it a little bit of
You know what year that was?
I saw it too. I recognized it. Go ahead.
where everything was about him. And my concerns, my thoughts, my needs weren't a priority any longer. So I found that I was starting to diminish within the relationship. And then just with foresight, you can say, okay, if it starts to diminish here, then it's going to start to diminish everywhere else in our lives that we share together. So that was when I said, you know what? No, this isn't okay. We're going to have to make some changes.
Wow.
Okay. And I think the industry did it. I'm sure, Heather, Sway, back then, it was, you never said you were in a relationship. It was always you're in the club, you're popping bottles, you're standing on the couch with stupid sunglasses on, you had chicks around you. Like, that's what the industry was.
Yeah.
And it was never about family. It was always about, you had, even women artists, they were just, you got to be single. You got to make men love you. You got to make men think they have a chance with you. It was the same thing with fellas. And we all played against it. I always say, and the reason that we wrote this book is because I want to show people a different side, not just the side that, oh, now you got to do this, you got to do that, because we don't have a way to follow different things. We can talk about so many different things in our circles, right? We could talk about our favorite basketball players, our favorite kicks, our favorite artists, but we never have an opportunity to be like, yo, I got in an argument with my wife the other day, and she said this. What's your opinion?
Yeah.
Hey, Heather, like, me and my wife talked about this. What's your opinion? Perfect example. I know we've been talking about it. If I came to you 20 years ago, pulled you to the side, Heather, yo, Sway, my wife says she has an orgasm in 10 years. What do you think? That silence what you to get me. That's what you to
I would
get
have
me.
been shocked that you even said that.
And then when I left, y'all would have laughed like, oh, man, damn it, man. You would have been like, that ain't in my relationship.
I'm just talking.
Goodness gracious, Sway. Stab me.
Today. He's normally not like this.
But
I'm just testing out Envy. You wrote a book, Heather. I'm just seeing how far I could go with it.
Checking the temperature.
But hopefully with this book, we can have those conversations about relationships and understand is you're not the only one. So when Gia came out and said that, when we wrote it in the book, and, people laughed and it was headlines. But if I tell you how many people DM'd me and DM'd her and said the same thing, like, yo, I'm glad you said this. I'm going to have this conversation with my husband tonight. I'm going to have this conversation with my man tonight. And how many dudes hit me and be like, yo, bro, I know that was a long time ago. How did you figure it out? How did you make your wife orgasm after that? And that's the conversations we want to start with this book.
Did he figure it out, Gia?
Well, here's the thing. This is the catch-22.
Well, say yes first, so that Don't leave on a sling. Yes, I figured it out numerous times.
Hold on.
There's no problems.
Stop it. Stop it. There was actually nothing for him to figure out because the problem wasn't with him. The problem was with me. And that's the shame with the clickbait and everything that's going out surrounding this story. It paints a picture that isn't accurate. They just grabbed it and like, okay, this is sensational. We're gonna get a lot of views, a lot of likes, and a lot of listens. But it wasn't with him. Women essentially are very different from men anatomically. Like we we orgasm in our minds. You know, for me, it doesn't matter what's actually happening physically. It's all about the feeling, the love, the passion, the intimacy, like what's going on in my mind. RaaShaun could literally be doing nothing at this point, and I'll definitely climax every single time. It's because I got right with myself.
Yeah.
The time that we're talking about, you know, I was 16. I lost my virginity to him on our 1 year anniversary when I was 16. And we're talking about 10 years since then. So probably from 16 to about maybe 25.
Yeah.
I hadn't had an opportunity to figure myself out. You know, he was young just like me. We're both very inexperienced, essentially each other's firsts, and kind of like two fools bumping around in the dark with no flashlight.
Like
You know what I
like
mean?
I tell everybody, I would watch porn. And when you watch porn, all you see is bang, 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 bang. And you think you doing your thing. And that's what I thought. I thought I was beating the pussy up.
You was scammed.
That's what I thought. I thought I was mandingo. I thought I was everything. I'm sitting back after, like, we always used to joke, right? Be like, after we have a good sex session, we'd be like,
Now or then?
back then, we didn't even smoke. So we'd be like, I think I need a cigarette.
Yeah.
I thought I was that good. And then you realize that I wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it's not that you weren't. And you even still say it. And you could tell that he's still affected
Still
in a
dealing
sense.
with it.
Yeah, because I have told
Yes.
him, I have been very clear. It literally had nothing to do with you, had nothing to do with, you know, your inspiration from porn. It didn't have anything to do with you. It only had to do with me. And not to be like too much TMI. Like now, do you even have to do anything?
Yes.
You don't have to. You don't even, he doesn't really have to do much.
He doesn't have to do much.
He just has to exist because
Yeah.
I'm so in love with him that in my mind, I get there. Men are different. Men
Yeah.
are different. You know, I think that you're a lot more physical with your
Yeah.
bodies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of women can enjoy sex without orgasming. But I think a lot of the pressure that comes from a woman is to men, the prize is the orgasm.
Correct.
And if that finale
Exactly.
does not arrive, then you've done wrong.
Then
And
the
there's-
movie's horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly.
You'll get bad critics.
And that was the thing. I always, through those 10 years, people misunderstand it, but I always enjoyed sex with RaaShaun.
Right.
And for further clarification, it's not that I wasn't having orgasms. I wasn't having orgasms through intercourse.
There it is, too.
I was having orgasms every other way. It just
My
wasn't.
mouth game was strong, she's trying to say.
Yo, be about it.
Okay.
That's the case of a lot of women.
But I think
Yes.
I'm hearing a little pacified and persecute right here. I know that was your tactic on how to talk about sex in your book. You,
Yeah,
you talk
yep.
about your approach. It sound like you letting them know, no, you're beautiful. You're beautiful.
Right.
But I wasn't still getting off for these reasons. It had nothing to do with you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in the book, Envy, you talk about, and I'm paraphrasing, being told these things that Gia wasn't necessarily experiencing certain heights in sex, and that made you feel less of a person or less of a man.
Correct.
And that kind of led to infidelity.
Correct.
Okay, you felt like you could go out and please another person, and that would make you feel full and complete. Did it? How did it make you feel?
Hall of Fame.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
I've been waiting for these questions.
He's a Hall of Famer. I was so broken back then as a person, so insecure, and with that, it even made me even more insecure, right? Because now I'm really feeling that I can't satisfy my wife, right? And all that talk, you know, when people say, "Hey, we broke up," it's not you, it's me. That just sounded like bullshit back then.
Yeah.
Right, it
Like
did.
you're being patronized.
It didn't.
Yeah.
So when it came to it, I felt like, yes, I needed my ego stroked. I needed to feel good. You know, because here I am, you just played RaaShaun Casey. But in the streets, I'm DJ Envy. Everybody loves DJ Envy. I got my glasses on. I'm the man when I'm out in these clubs, out in these streets, out doing show to show to show. So yes, it made me feel that way. And also, it was also the fact that Gia lived she was so far away from the industry.
Yeah.
So Gia didn't have Twitter. She didn't have Facebook. She didn't have MySpace, Black Planet, Instagram, none of the social medias. She didn't even really go online. Like, she was just focused on our kids at the time. So I'm like, between this and this, yes, I want to feel good. I want my ego to feel good, and that's what it did. It made my ego feel good until you realize that's not what I want. That ego-driven situation and feeling is not what makes me feel like a man. That's not what makes me feel like a good best friend, a good lover, a good father. So you do it until you realize, nah, that's boyish ways of thinking, and I have to man up and be a man.
Wow. And so that and this is a big this what happened chapter is big in this book, because it was so well publicized, and you guys really didn't hide behind it. But what came out of it to me is what I think we're seeing now. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if you guys were so insightful on the workings of a relationship prior to the infidelity. I know the infidelity made y'all go back and do a lot of work, and Gia put it on you and says, I didn't cause this problem. You got to fix the problem.
Correct.
And then one of the things you said in the book is that prior to that, God wasn't central in y'all relationship.
Correct.
Absolutely not.
Okay. But after that, that was a part of the fix?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
1,000%.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you have to start from Gia's best friend.
Okay.
So let me just break it down. So Gia had this best friend from college. It's her best friend's husband, and they're all very tight. He didn't like me too much because he felt that our relationship was toxic, he was true. He was right.
Yeah.
So because of that, I didn't like him. He was the only one that didn't champion our relationship. So now when everything's going down, he calls. He steps into play. Now, when he calls and I see his number on the phone, I'm like, oh, boy, it's over.
Here we go.
Here we go. It's like he's not going to help.
Yeah.
And you want to explain what happened?
Okay, well, because you read the book. It's a long story. I'm like, okay, how do I shorten this? We were having a very bad day. RaaShaun was not in a good place mentally, and let's just suffice it to say that we were worried about his safety. My friend that he's referring to, his name is Rashid. Rashid called. He called me. I told him what was going on. He called RaaShaun. RaaShaun picked up, and he let me know that the situation was very dangerous and that I needed to call the police.
And let me explain, so at that time I was at my lowest.
Okay.
Gia wanted a divorce. She did not want to be with me, and at that time I felt like my life would be better not here than here. As a kid growing up, especially in New York, when you hear people committing suicide or taking their life, you first thing you think is they're suckers.
Yeah.
They're soft. They're not a man. They're weak.
They're selfish.
They're selfish.
Yeah.
Until you get to that position. And when you get to that point, you realize it's none of that. It's none of that. And that's why we talk about it in the book so much, because we don't ever talk about these things or people dealing with it. So at that time, when Gia we were going through our thing, I was in the garage with all the cars on. She's trying to open the door, and I'm holding the door. So she can't get in the garage, and the exhaust is just coming.
Wow.
He calls me. I pick up the phone. I don't even remember, but I pick up the phone. I guess we had a conversation. He hangs up. He calls Gia back and says, that wasn't RaaShaun I was speaking to. I don't know who that was. Call the police now.
Wow.
Yeah, the things that he was saying,
Wow.
Rashid told me, was things that RaaShaun in his right mind would never say.
Like what? Can you give us an example?
Yes. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve Gia. I don't deserve my children. I'm just going to kill myself. Today's my last day. Don't call me back. But not only that, he said that the voice that he heard wasn't RaaShaun's voice. So not to get too deep into spirituality and things like that, but Rashid was pretty much telling me that it was the enemy.
Took
Over him and was convincing him that the things that he was saying was true.
Yes.
Convincing him that he was not worthy to be here, which rendered him in that garage that day with 6 cars on.
Damn.
So he said, this is not a joke. It's not a game. It's not a manipulation. Call the police right now, which I did. The police came. They took RaaShaun against his will with the ambulance and committed him to the hospital. And I was the only one that had the power to be able to sign him out.
Yo, he had the stray jacket. You had the stray jacket, Envy?
No, there was no straight jacket.
There was no straight jacket.
But there were 2 guards at the door, and
Okay.
they took his laces and everything from him. But he hit a phone. Before they had a chance to take anything away. So Rashid came. He was a mess. After he got off the phone with RaaShaun, he's from L.A. Well, he at the time, he lived in L.A. and he's an attorney. So he walked into his boss's office and said, listen, I have to take an emergency leave of absence. I don't know when I'm going to be back, but I'll keep you posted. And he burst into tears. He said that he was on the floor in his office, literally bawling. And he booked a flight, went home, packed a bag, and got on a flight straight to New York. Told me that he was coming. And I said, I don't want you here because I'm used to dealing with my problems myself. I'm not the type of person that really
You're the
confides in
fixer.
other people. I'm a fixer. I don't
the
lean
fixer,
on
yep.
other people. I handle everything myself. He insisted that he was coming. I picked him. I left the hospital. And I went straight to the airport, picked him up, and he stayed with us for about 12 days.
Wow.
He's a very spiritual person, or something like that. And I said, why are you here? And he told me that God sent him. I said, what do you mean God sent you? And he said, God told me that I had to be here to save your marriage. And I said, I don't understand. What do you mean God spoke to you? I said, are you hearing voices? And he said, I'm not hearing voices, but when God speaks to you, it's as though he puts an overwhelming feeling on your heart.
Absolutely.
And when he tells you to do something, you don't ask any questions, you just do it. That's why I'm here. I didn't understand that. And especially coming from him, because like RaaShaun said, he's the only person in our lives, and at that point, 17 years, that did not support us and didn't think that our relationship was the greatest thing. He's the only naysayer. I said, of all people, God sent you?
That's how it works.
Right. I thought you would find out that he cheated and then tell me you want to get your boys from Passaic and do something about it.
Right.
Not you need to stay in this relationship whether you want to be here or not. So that was the start of our spiritual journey.
And then the second start. Now, I do the Breakfast Club. So at that time, I was a robot. I couldn't do nothing. I would come to work. I would lay under the counter, good morning, everybody, and lay back down. I was messed up. I lost my job here because I couldn't come to work. I lost my MTV job. I couldn't come to work. I was messed up. Tyrese just happens to be in town. And I have no relationship with Tyrese at the time. I didn't know him. We used to make fun of him being Black Ty and Tyrese. Like, it was no relationship. He heard me on the radio and called me and said, hey, I was praying this morning. I want to meet with you and your wife. And I said, why? And he was like, God sent me to talk to you. I was like, what are you talking about, Tyrese? He said, just do me a favor. He said, book a private room at Chow's. Get your wife there, and I'll meet you there. So I booked a private room.
Yeah, Philippe Chow's.
We get to Philippe Chow's. Tyrese comes down the stairs with a backup singer and a guitarist, and he sings Stay. His song Stay. Singing like
serious?
Yes.
Like singing.
He's singing like
No,
it's,
he was singing like he was performing
like he was at the
in front of
Barclays.
thousands.
Like he's at the Garden,
Yeah.
singing.
Yeah.
Like the muscles coming out his throat and
Like
the veins in his
singing.
forehead type
Yeah.
muscle, yeah. And then he sat down with us for about,
4 hours.
4 hours.
4.5 hours.
Just having, and he was supposed to be at a wedding the next day. He had rehearsals. He canceled rehearsals to do that.
Changed his flights.
And
everything.
then for the next couple of weeks, Tyrese would be on the phone with us for 7-8 hours a day.
Wow. A day? Every day?
Yeah,
day.
because, during that 4-hour conversation, he was trying to clue me in to the insights of the male mind.
Okay.
And how men work. He was trying to explain, which I still don't necessarily understand, but he was trying to explain how a man can love you and cheat at the same time. Just because he cheats, it doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. And we just explored that. And we talked about many, many different things over these 4 hours. And at the end, I had to ask him, I said, why did you do this? You're supposed to be at a wedding rehearsal right now. You rearranged your flights. You don't know RaaShaun. You don't know me. You don't know if our relationship is even worth saving. I didn't say this at the time, but basically what I meant, like, I could be a thought. You don't know anything about me.
Yeah.
You don't know if I'm worthy of everything that you're giving right now. He said, I'm here because God sent me.
Wow.
I said, what do you mean? Are you hearing voices?
Right.
Going through the same spiel. Yes.
Right.
And he said, no. He said, this is from my heart. And then he reiterated exactly what Rashid said.
My goodness.
When God speaks to you, he puts an overwhelming feeling on your heart, etc. And at that point, it clicked for me because I had been begging for a sign. I learned how to pray properly, and I was begging for a sign. And that was the sign, because I knew that there wasn't that much coincidence in the world. You have someone that doesn't like RaaShaun. You have a complete stranger, both of them of their own volition, coming to you and telling you that God sent them to intervene on his behalf in your relationship and its well-being. And both of them said that it was a must. I didn't have a choice in it. And at that point, I understood. Now they say you understand the assignment. At that point, I understood the assignment. Yeah.
Wow, man. Gia Casey is here. She's with this guy. DJ Envy. This is what I'm saying, man. This book, Look, I got so many notes. I'm not gonna get to the notes.
I love
know
it.
y'all gotta go, but I got went through the
Save
whole
it for
book.
the person you end up with, Sway.
Whatever, Tracy.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to Heather, who's, married to Big Horse, from Bravehearts, Ruchi Wally Ho 9, and I was asking Heather, would you ever put it out on the line like this in a book? And that's not something you would necessarily do, right?
Nah, because everybody's, like Gia was, everybody's road is different.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's road is different. Horse and I, coincidentally, have been married 20 years as well. And I think the opposite was we had that spiritual confirmation before the marriage. And then we don't have children. And I think it's hard to base my marriage, and then we don't have children. It's a completely different dynamic. It's so different. And I admire when people decide to fight for family. I admire that. I don't really, I can't speak on that because I don't know what that dynamic is like. Just like nobody would know for me. It's like, well, if Horse ever cheated on you, it's easier for you to leave. Well, how is it necessarily easier if this is my soulmate and my best friend? It you know what I mean? It doesn't make it easier or harder when you have your helpmate and your soulmate.
Having children had nothing to do with me staying.
But that's what.
Okay.
So that speaks to what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing. It wasn't part of the equation.
It's not part of it. But at the same time, for you as a man, daddy, you can't replace that. Coming home, where's daddy? What does mommy say? Mommy's crying. Something doesn't feel right in the house. All of those things, I can't relate to that. So I can only speak on my situation. And for us, it was a complete opposite. We had that whole confirmation. Like, to me, Tyrese was your confirmation.
Yeah.
Rashid sounded like he was the messenger, and y'all was still like, okay, maybe somebody told somebody. Ain't no way that Tyrese was like, nah, nigga.
Confirmation.
He was a confirmation.
Yes.
And so we had that, and that's how our journey began.
And he never told anybody. Tyrese never talked about the story.
Right.
Yeah.
Never, he could have used it. It could have made him sound great.
Yeah.
He never discussed it.
He actually texted us the other day.
Did he?
And
Okay.
he said, I've never spoken on it. I've never told a story. I've never made mention.
Because he know who sent them.
Yeah.
He
Exactly.
He ain't trying to
He's
get that
not-
wrath.
Yeah.
I did it
Right.
because that's what I was instructed
So
to
to
do.
do.
Well, you speak on kids, and I have a beautiful 23-year-old daughter. Man, I want to commend Envy for one of the things you did after you outed and everything was found out that the infidelity took place. You sat down with Madison and Logan.
Yeah.
And told them what Daddy did.
See?
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm not sure if I mean, that's
See?
like you didn't have to
It's
tell them. What were they,
different.
8 and 10 at the time, right?
Yeah.
You
That-
sat with the kids.
that
Like,
was-
what are you?
that's different.
You're their hero. You're
Right.
a superhero.
That's Daddy.
You're perfect. You're flawless. You're Daddy.
And
Yes.
then he's villain.
And then, so how did that go?
See, that's the thing in our family. My daughter is like my best friend. So it's like when I'm out and about, she's out with me. When I'm looking at cars, she's looking at cars. When I'm going to the game, she's with me at the game. Same thing with my son. So we're tight. Like if I'm cleaning the garage, she comes out with me to help me clean the garage. Like I'm her hero. So when I told her, her first reaction, I told her the truth. She was like, "But Dad, who told on you?" She was more concerned about Dad
Yeah, she's a rider.
than Mom.
I like
my
give her a round of applause. I like that.
She
Yeah.
was
that-
Daddy's girl.
But that kind of speaks to the part in the book where, I said that the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Mm-hmm.
In our family, I've never been the squeaky wheel. So I don't get much grease.
Yeah.
So my kids, when they found out, it was like, how's Daddy handling it?
Yeah.
Is Daddy okay? Like he said, who told? Like Mom's gonna be okay, but what about Dad?
But that's how our kids are. Like they are always concerned because Dad's tired. So I'll come home and my daughter make me breakfast. Here, Dad, and Mom's looking like, what about me? What about me?
Nobody asked me if I ate.
Nobody asked me. They're like,
it.
no,
Wow.
they're like, Dad got to go to work. Like, no, Dad, you have a show tonight, Dad? Okay, well, and they'll make me like little to-go packets. Like, this will give you energy. This will give you some food when you drive. Like, that's how the kids are. Where my son, he'll call me like when I'm driving home from a club just to talk to me to make sure I don't fall asleep. Like,
Wow.
that's how connected we are as parents. But my kids, like, I was surprised. Like, I'm still there now. My daughter's dating. And it's difficult for her because she wants a guy like daddy.
Yes.
She wants a guy like
well,
daddy.
you buy your daughter a lot of stuff. She's gonna have a hard time to find that. I see it, man. Look at the. Can we compliment the jewelry first before we go into that? Look at the jewelry, y'all.
Yeah.
The Caseys be matching jewelry, not just clothes. They be matching diamonds.
The color palette, the diamonds.
All right, go ahead, HB. I'm sorry.
Really quick though, a question for you then, NV.
Yes.
So after you feel like you have the confirmation and you guys are on this beautiful road of spirituality together and learn so much, do you then now still believe that a man could truly love you and cheat on you?
No. The problem with our relationship, I think, in the book I explain it, I think most men or most people getting married don't know the true definition of love and what it means, right? It's easy to say, I love you, babe. I love you, Mom. But we don't know the true definition of love. If I really love somebody, am I going to hurt them? Am I going to deceive them? Am I going to lie to them? Am I going to cheat? You still want those butterflies in your stomach. And I never thought about the definition of love because we never talk about relationships.
Right.
We talk about everything else growing up. And that's why we wanted to write this book. Like, we want to open it up where we can talk about relationships, where we feel comfortable saying, where let's say I see you on the street and I'm like, yo, Heather, let me ask you a question. Gia said this. What do you think? Where you feel comfortable be like this, that, and that. And I can go back to Gia be like, you know what? I seen Heather and she said this and it doesn't feel awkward and uncomfortable.
It's kind of like what Sway said right before we cracked the mics, that no one ever taught you how to be in a relationship. That's why we wrote the book.
My dad never taught me about sex. Like I never had the birds and bees conversation.
Really?
Never.
So it's just porn. You was informed by porn.
Just porn. It was what it was. Back then, my parents didn't have that conversation.
Yeah.
Now we have those conversations with our kids.
Oh, yeah.
We have them early on, but back then it was kind of taboo. Like, my parents never had that conversation with me. You just had to figure it out.
I mean, his parents felt funny reading the book.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Hey, man, you got some beautiful parents, too.
Thank you.
I saw the pictures in the book, and God bless your mom.
Yeah.
God bless your mom. And
Thank
you guys
you.
have a handsome family.
Thank you so much.
Like, I feel reading this book and looking at the pictures, I learned so much more about who you are, and Gia got to know who you are. What you're saying is the same thing, Heather, that Terry Crews came up here and said about porn. That's how he learned about intimacy, was through porn at the age
so
of
many
9.
people.
And he said a man can hide best his infidelity through success. He said it's such a sweet spot. He said being successful, a man can hide all of his infidelities. It's such a warm place to hide. He sat right in your chair, Gia, and said that yesterday.
Wait, explain that a little bit. Hiding it through
success. The more successful you are, I guess you're covered very easily. It's easy to be covered. It's easy not to be found out. Or if you are found out, people just pretend it's just normal. It's Hollywood. It's life. It's
but
the
that's
game.
the thing. It is normal. It is normal, and that's the sad truth of it. It's almost expected. It's almost expected. And, there's a part of the book where I was talking about what happened according to me, the cheating according to me, how it went down. And there was one person in particular, his name is June, RaaShaun's manager and still our close friend, who was like, you going to leave all of this behind a little cheating? Essentially.
June.
June.
Like essentially, like, look at your life. You're going to leave all of this behind.
He was trying to help me, but it wasn't working. It didn't work.
And what I said to him and how I felt, and I was reiterating to him how I was articulating thoughts to myself, and I said it to him. I said, do you really think that I would stay with a cheating husband for some leather? Leather handbags, leather shoes. Like, that's the this.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, house, jewelry, but bags, shoes,
Yeah.
stuff. Are you kidding me? Like, this is my life. This is my love. This is my existence. This is my family. Who cares about all that stuff? That stuff can burn.
Ooh.
This is everything. Like, we were together when we were broke. When our parents were still giving us lunch money. That's when we were together. You think I care about this stuff?
Come on, Gia.
But that's the thing. It's expected.
He said
because
that.
most women, and the truth is, it's not lost on me, a lot of women that are with men of means, they do stay for that reason.
Right.
So people that have said, okay, she's only stayed with you for the money, I see where it's coming from, because that's a narrative that's been tried and true.
Yeah.
So it's an assumption that's put on me. But in our situation, that just didn't happen to be the case.
And I feel like also a lot of men and women believe that the role as a husband is to provide those means. So if he's doing it, then that's a part of the lifestyle that's owed to you. There's so many gems that are being dropped. I'm curious now, because you guys are so transparent about your relationship, do you ever have issues where you're like, let's keep it to ourselves?
There's no value in that.
Okay.
There's for us. For us, I feel as though we've been through the dirt and the mud. We've been in the gutter of our relationship.
Yeah.
Now that I feel like we've cracked the code and we've figured it out, it's our job to pay it forward. So a lot of people don't have to get dragged through the same mud.
Okay.
Because had we had a book like this that said to us, you know what, the most important thing is to keep God at the pinnacle of your relationship, honor him, and through doing that, you will honor each other. If we knew that and it was given to us in a way that we could understand and digest it, interpret it, get it, we wouldn't have gone through all of this. So that's the reason why, people are like, why are you putting all your business in the street? Aren't certain things meant
That's
for?
your story,
Where's the value in it if you
Right.
don't share? Where's the sense of community? How do you take care of your people? How do you influence them to make better decisions than the ones that you made if you don't share?
But what about the challenges that don't yet have solutions and they still feel very like raw?
Like what?
Like there's a level of vulnerability. Like I understand, like for myself, to me, the prerequisite for sharing oftentimes on a public space is, have I gotten it figured out where someone's opinion does not impact me, a negative
Yes.
opinion. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where the way that you receive me, my securities are not contingent upon that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes, I'm in that space.
Okay, so even if you guys were in a problem that has yet to be resolved,
I
would you still
understand.
feel comfortable sharing it publicly?
Oh, yeah, we do on our podcast.
Well, boom.
We do in our podcast. There's been many a times where we were in the throes of a disagreement
Yeah.
and we're not on the same page, and we talked about it on our podcast. And sometimes it got figured out within that hour and sometimes it didn't, and it spilled over into another podcast.
And she's a talker. She likes to talk. 6 hours.
We like it.
moment. But like, I'm not sure what goes on. I mean, yeah, we argue, but nothing ever got violent. Nothing ever got crazy. So like, I consider her a flight risk. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it sounds like she's a flight risk, but the last time that
I don't think she loves him.
The last time that she left, what was the reason? Be specific. What happened?
So we was in Vegas. We had moved to Vegas from Connecticut. And we were trying to start a new life, build everything from the ground up. Like, I'm a hard worker. We started something, and I don't know if it's because she was sitting in the apartment or what was going on, but like, I was trying to work and build something because, like I said, we started from zero. You know what I mean? In Vegas, Las Vegas, no job, no apartment. Like, we started from scratch. I was working one day. She had started a fight with me, and she wouldn't answer the phone, nothing. I kept calling. I actually left work to go home, and she was already going back on a flight back to Connecticut. Poof.
To
See
see
ya.
your boyfriend.
So
See your
nothing.
boyfriend.
So nothing really happened. It was a frivolous fight. It was a frivolous fight, and then she was gone.
She doesn't love him.
Thank you, Emma.
If your accounting of the events is true and accurate, then yes, she is a flight risk, and you need to be with someone that can give you security.
You love her more than she loves you. She's using you for whatever it may be. It might be for the D, it might be for the money, but she's not in love with you, and that's why she's so easy to leave so fast. So, I mean, I would say, you know what Gia said earlier in the interview, you have a bird in the cage, you let that bird go, and if it comes back, then you know it's there, just let the bird go. Well, I don't want to call her a bird, but just let the woman go.
Yep.
Let your bird go, man.
Yep. And you love her more than you love yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
All
Tell
right.
her man what up.
Hey, Shane, you a citizen, brother.
Nah.
Okay. Hey, Shane, you know what? Shane, honestly,
What?
I'm not sure what chapter it is, but there's a chapter in this book where Envy talks about being so wrapped up in his own world that he didn't recognize the sacrifices that were being made by Gia and the family members. And you sound like you work a whole lot and she's sitting around too. You might want to consider that moving forward, that don't make your work a priority over your love, or balance that thing out. All right, Shane?
Real talk.
Can-
I got you. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Listen to you all the time.
Can we put Shane on hold and give him a book? He seemed like he need a copy.
Shane, hold on. We're going to get you a book, man.
That's
Hold on,
nice.
Shane. Shane on line 5. Yo,
Yep.
Heather, I know you got to go to Urban View.
I can't stand what you just told him just now. Like, Sway always try to save.
I'm
yo.
trying to save him, man. I want to see the best
Oh,
for
man.
people, man. But, you know, it's I want to thank y'all for coming up.
Oh
here
man,
this
thanks for
morning.
having us.
this was good.
Thanks for having
Real
us.
fan of the family.
Thanks for having us.
Maybe I'll get invited to the 12 days of Christmas. Maybe I won't. Who knows? From maybe if Envy got some. How many cars you got now? Don't you got the car show?
I got the car show. I got one coming on in Houston, June 19th, with his Father's Day weekend, Juneteenth. So
Nice.
fathers, come on out. It's a perfect Father's Day gift. We do cars. It's like rides for the kids. It's just a lot going on. And then we have one coming up July 9th in Atlanta. So if you want to get tickets, get your tickets now. It will sell out. It's just a lot of family fun. I bring all the family comes, the kids come. So there's something for everybody. So if you got a little girl that doesn't like cars, she could be in the jumpies. She could be in the carnival rides. She could get her face painted. She could get fun makeup. She could learn how to double dutch. There's so much to do.
Envy, I love for y'all to come back too, because we didn't talk about finances, and it's been really, I marveled at the way you guys have handled your businesses.
Would love to.
Over the years, and that's something I find interesting too, that couples who could be in business together and how that helped grow that wealth for your family. And then I can ask you some more personal questions about your business.
Absolutely.
All right?
I don't mind.
You guys
Anytime.
come back. Okay, man. Give it up for DJ Envy,
Thank
man.
you.
Give it up for Gia Casey.
Thank
Come on, the
you.
Casey crew. Make sure you get the book. It's called Real Life, Real Love, Life Lessons on Joy, Pain, and the Magic That Holds Us Together. All right, HB, see you tomorrow. Love you too.
you.
Right.
Heather got like 3 jobs.
I ain't
here,
mad at
bro.
her.
She going to Urban Beauty. She's on Fly later today, man. She's killing it. People want to reach you, Gia. How can they reach you?
You can DM me on my Instagram, Gia_Casey. That's GIA_CASEY.
Okay, y'all know how to reach DJ Envy.
That's right, DJ Envy. And get the book. Get the book. Get the book. When it comes to books, this is my first book, so I didn't know anything about books. I'm treating it like mixtapes and CDs.
Absolutely.
And so just get the book. It means a lot when you guys purchase the book and getting it on them lists. So it that's why you see books in Target and Walmart and even at the airport. It takes a lot to get those. And a lot of times our community, we don't have those authors there. So we have to support each other to make sure we end up in those spots. If not, you'll continue to see the books like 5 Love Languages and 48 Powers of Law, all that. But purchase the book, Real Life, Real Love.
It's a good book. It's a serious book.
Yes, it is. It's a great book. Excellent book. I've learned a lot from it. You will too. I guarantee you that. Tracy, how can they reach you if they want to talk to you?
Yeah, citizens, this has been a beautiful bomb-ass Wednesday with y'all. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, take your pick. I'm over there at It's Tracy, GITSTRACYG.
Tonight, here on Channel 45, we're going to be remembering the legendary DJ K. Slay, a.k.a. the Drama King, okay? What he's done for this culture, what he's done for the community. Last time I saw K. Slay, we were in Harlem handing out laptops to different families in the community, and that was not that long ago. So we're going to make sure his legacy lives on. Tonight, it starts at 7 p.m. right here at Eastern on Shade 45. Papoose is going to co-host. Gray Rizzy is going to co-host. I'm going to come out and co-host. Maybe DJ Envy might even call in. Okay? Dave East to be a part of this. Kendrick Lamar, Mano, Nipsey Hussle. Nipsey Hussle. Kendrick Lamar, Mano, so many more people going to be a part of this. 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Make sure y'all tune in, man, as we honor and celebrate DJ K. Slay. That's our show for today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm at Real Sway. If you want to reach me, give it up for the Casey. Give it up for the Casey. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. I think Tiffany Haddish is going to join us tomorrow, so make sure y'all tune in to that. And on that note, citizens, we have nothing left to say.